This is our seventh Spanish lesson of the new course. This is a remake of the older Spanish course that I began recording and publishing over 3 years ago. Okay? So, in this seventh class, in our class number 7, I'll be teaching you the 4 most important verbs in Spanish. Los 4 verbos más importantes del español. So let me remind you that when I speak of Spanish, I'm actually, to be exact and precise, I'm using the word castellano, Castilian Spanish, okay? Because as I mentioned before, the word español, Spanish per se, actually includes many different languages. Like Galician is Spanish because it is an official language from Spain, the Kingdom of Spain. Catalan is also Spanish because it is another official language within the Kingdom of Spain, okay? So there are several Spanish languages. And however, the Spanish language that we are learning, the main tongue, the one that is spoken not only in Spain but in all Latin America, is Castilian Spanish, which is castellano. Therefore, the title for today is Los verbos más importantes del castellano, the most important verbs of Castilian Spanish. As usual, the most important verbs in our language are irregular. And that's the case with these 4 verbs. These are irregular verbs. In Spanish, we have many more regular verbs than in English. So English has regular verbs and irregular verbs. However, in English, the irregular verbs represent a greater proportion or percentage of the total than in Spanish. Spanish also has a huge amount of irregular verbs. Nevertheless, the regular ones represent a much more significant number, okay? But these, the most important ones, are irregular, okay? So, I won't get deep into verbal conjugation right now because this is the beginning of the course and I don't want to get into something so heavy as verbal tenses. But in order to start making simple sentences and building simple sentences in Spanish, we need a few verbs, okay? That is why I will be introducing in this class at least these 4 very important verbs in Spanish. And I'll explain to you what they are used for and when we have to use them. And that's going to be very useful for the whole rest of the course. So, ser and estar are 2 Spanish verbs that are used to and correspond to the English verb to be. I'll say the same thing in Spanish now. Los verbos ser y estar corresponden al verbo to be del inglés. Bien, ahora queremos saber cuándo corresponde usar ser y cuándo corresponde usar el verbo estar. So now we want to know when do we have to use the verb ser and when do we have to use the verb estar. Because in English we have, for both cases, we only have the verb to be, which makes it much more simple, right? I am Rodrigo. I am here, right? I am happy. I am sad, etc. Okay? So, and this is the rule. Ser means to be for more permanent cases or situations. Estar means to be, but for less permanent or for more impermanent or temporary cases. And now I'll give you an example for you to understand this. For example, I want to say, I am Rodrigo, right? Like my name is Rodrigo. I would say, yo, for I, soy Rodrigo. Okay? Soy is a conjugation for the first person in the singular, for I, in present tense, for the verb ser. Okay, so soy is verb ser. Yo soy Rodrigo. My name, someone's name is something permanent. Okay, of course, somebody can change his name. That's for sure. But generally speaking, the name is something permanent. Okay, so yo soy Rodrigo. I use verb ser because the name is permanent. Okay, yo soy un hombre. Okay, I am a man. Yo soy un hombre. Yo soy un hombre. Okay? I am a man. Or I can say I am man. In Spanish, if we leave out the article, right, it's generic. Okay? I am a man. Yo soy hombre, or yo soy un hombre. Someone's gender is supposed to be something permanent. Therefore, supposedly, I will always be a man, right? So we also use the verb ser. Okay? Yo soy un hombre. Okay? Now, here you can see how and when we use the verb ser. But the verb estar, I'll show you how we use it now. For example, I am happy, right? This is a state that can change from a moment to another. Then we don't use the verb ser. We use estar. Yo estoy feliz, okay? Feliz or whatever other adjective, okay, you want. Yo estoy feliz. I can say yo soy feliz. If I say yo soy feliz, instead of saying that right now I am happy, I'm implying that I'm usually or I'm always a happy man, okay? Why? Because the verb ser is used for something permanent that doesn't have changes, okay? So, if I say yo estoy feliz, I'm saying right now I'm happy, right? This is my present state. If I say yo soy feliz, it's like saying I'm always a happy man, right? This is my state of mind. This is how I always feel, okay? So therefore, we would usually use estoy for this, okay? Now look at this one. Yo estoy contigo. Yo estoy contigo. I am with you. Contigo means with you. Okay? So again, I am with you. This is something impermanent, right? Because it's not a permanent fact that I'm with you. Right now I'm with you. Next year or next minute I can be with somebody else or just by myself. Okay? Therefore, we do not say yo soy contigo, okay? We say yo estoy contigo, okay? So we do not say yo soy contigo because soy from the verb ser means permanent. But if we were to say yo soy contigo, that would imply, right, an impossible state. That's why the sentence doesn't exist. But it would imply, if we were to use it, that yo soy contigo, that I and you are together, like bonded, right? Bonded and we can't separate. That would be what's implied by saying yo soy contigo, okay? Which is a fiction, of course. If you have any questions or doubts regarding when to use ser and estar, you can ask me any questions, you can post them on YouTube and I'll be happy to answer them. However, in my older lessons, there are a few lessons on this same topic, and also, if you want to practice, I really suggest you to go to my website and open the tests and exercises that are online and totally for free, and there you can practice using SER and ESTAR in exercises, and these exercises and these tests that are free are corrected and are reviewed automatically online, so you will receive the correction right on the spot, okay? So I really recommend those exercises to test how you have understood these examples, okay? Now the other two verbs, haber and tener. The verb haber has two meanings, okay? As an auxiliary verb, it has the same function as the English verb to have. What do I mean as auxiliary verb? Okay, compound tenses in English use the auxiliary verb to have, okay? For example, present perfect, right? I have gone, I have eaten, I have run, I have spoken, okay? So the auxiliary verb to have, right, is what we use in English for conjugating any other verb in a compound tense. In Spanish we would use the verb haber. So for example, to say I have eaten, I would say yo he comido. He would be the present tense conjugation of the verb haber. As you can see, it is very irregular, and we will learn the conjugation in some future class. I have run, yo he corrido. She has eaten, ella ha comido, okay? So, verb haber in Spanish is used as auxiliary verb for compound tenses, okay? But it also has another use. To be something, okay? And what does this mean? Okay, not to be like here, but when you say there is this, there is that, there are 3 coins here, there is a dog over there, okay? There we use the verb haber. It is a very special function of verb haber. So for example, if I want to say there is a cat, okay? Sorry. There is a cat. I will say I. Okay? I is a special conjugation of the verb haber. So there is, in Spanish we say hay. Hay un gato. Okay? So un is the indeterminate article a for masculine. Un gato means a cat. Okay? If I want to say a female cat, right, I would say una gata with a at the end. Una gata for feminine, un gato for masculine. Okay? Hay un gato. If I want to say there are many people, there are, or there is many people, there are many, let's say many, there are many students, okay? There are many students, I would say hay muchos estudiantes. Hay muchos estudiantes. Hay means there is or there are, okay? Muchos means many, countable. Estudiantes for students, okay? Hay muchos estudiantes, there are many students. Okay, so haber is used for as auxiliary verb and for saying there is or there are, okay? Now, our last verb, ahora nuestro último verbo es el verbo tener. ¿Para qué usamos el verbo tener? What do we use the verb tener for? Okay, tener literally means to have something, okay? Not as an auxiliary verb as here, but as the verb per se, okay? So, for example, let me erase the whiteboard to make some space. Okay? Yo tengo un gato. I have a cat. I have a cat. Yo tengo un gato. I have a blue car. Yo tengo un auto azul. Okay? I have a blue car. Yo tengo un auto azul. Good. So this is how we use, or what we use the verb tener for. To say, to have something. Okay? Also, to have two, like the verb to have two, we would say tener que. Look. Tener que means to have two. To have two whatever. For example, I have to go to the bank. I have to go to the bank. So to have to, I mean like to must do something, okay? So we would say tener que. For example, yo tengo, which means I have, que ir al banco. Okay? This is the same as saying I have to go to the bank. Okay? To the bank. The word al is a contraction of the preposition a, which means to go to, right? So al is the preposition a plus the article el, which means the. So a, el in Spanish is contracted as al. Okay? So al banco means to the bank. Okay? So here you have seen how we use the verb tener in Spanish. But let me make one observation here. The word auto for car. Auto is a short form for automóvil, okay? Automobile, right? Automóvil would be the full word. However, even though automóvil is still used in Spanish and it's correct, however, we always use simply the word auto, okay? Right? So same like plane and airplane, okay? We usually use plane for airplane, okay? Same thing with auto. Some countries, they prefer to use the word carro. Carro for car, okay? And it's okay. So in some countries, when they want to speak of a blue car, they will say el carro azul. Many other countries, they would use the word auto. And personally, I believe the word auto is more appropriate because auto comes from automóvil, which you know what it means. It's the cars that are in the street. However, the word carro is a more ancient word, okay? And literally it means cart or chariot, okay? So the word carro, while correct and chosen in many countries, it's a more generic word that can be used for car or cart or chariot, or even used for stroller, okay? The stroller for a baby is also called carro or carrito, which would be the diminutive for carro, okay? So that's why many countries prefer the word auto, which is more, which is actually targeted to the automobile stuff, okay? The cars that are in the street, the modern cars, okay? However, you can choose any of both, and remember that when you're reading or speaking in a Spanish-speaking country, you can actually hear the word auto or the word carro. I'll explain the same thing in Spanish now. Recuerden que cuando estén en un país de habla hispana, Spanish speaking country, país de habla hispana, podrán escuchar la palabra auto o la palabra carro, pues ambas pueden ser usadas para lo mismo. Both words, ambas palabras, pueden ser usadas, can be used, para lo mismo, for the same word, okay, for the same thing. So, let's end our class here. Terminemos aquí nuestra clase. If you have any questions, si tienen preguntas, don't hesitate, no duden, to ask or comment on YouTube and I'll be happy to reply. Así que no duden en preguntar o publicar sus comentarios en YouTube y estaré feliz de responderles. Gracias y nos vemos en la clase que viene. Thank you and I'll see you in our next class. Goodbye.